Special Stage 8 with Castrol Toyota factory crew Serge Damso and Guy Hodgson in a tenuous 22-second lead. And despite Jan Habek's earlier service park comment, the VW Motorsport crew weren't exactly hanging around.
This is crest and crest past left over narrow. Easy left and swap left to right. Swap slow left to right. 80. Crest is fast right, 50. Crest is fast right, 50.
An insight into co-driver Douglas Judd working off the rally pace notes, now an integral part of South African rallying, provided by the organisers. Steaming along behind the VW Motorsport factory entry were Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley, who were now almost a minute ahead of Paulo Piazzamuso and Richard Leake in the Sasol Motorcraft Ford Escort. They were still under a little pressure from Danair Toyota Corolla crew Jürgen Fecken and Dave Lukowitz, who were firmly entrenched at the front of the Class A6 and still running ahead of Class A7 leaders Chart van der Walt and Cindy Harding. The Reeks towing VW Golf was sounding crisp, and with their early morning brake problems now solved, Barry Hrobler and Mike Burrows in the Team Total Golf were back into a rhythm, while JP Jamso and Pierre Aris in the Team Total Toyota Corolla were also making good progress after their early problems. Large crowds followed the Rally of South Africa along the route, with Special Stage 9 having a huge effect on the Group N battle. Hannes Hrobler and Nick Hadden lost 16 minutes when they beached the Total Bridgestone Nissan Sentra, and Cliff Blackman and Johan Claassen inherited the Class N3 lead in the Team Total entry. After their repeated problems with punctures, Dean Saunders and Graham Hooper had dropped down the pecking order and had lost ground on Hencom Motorsport pair Cobus Roos and Neil Ferree, with local favourites Diffie Moreira and Donny Duval now into the lead in both the group category and Class N2. Class A7 runners, Gijs Klein and Johan Barnard, were mixed up with the Group N runners, along with Jamie White and Philip Archenoul in the Castrol Nissan Zimbabwe entry. The Zimbabweans were still coming to terms with pace notes and Western Cape conditions, but were running second in Class S20, where they dropped around 6 minutes behind the Kuhn Hrobler BMW. The Namibian Hyundai station wagon in the hands of Theo Coetzee and Nico Snyman was running third in Class S20, with the Namibians around 3 minutes behind the Zimbabwe entry. Fissa du Plessis and Lisa Joubert in the Jojo Tanks Nissan Sentra had dropped off the pace in Class N3 and were being chased by Class N1 leaders Mike and Robin Houghton, who had Richard Fasaki and Caroline Chimmer hot on their heels in a terrific battle between the two Toyota Taz entries. The start of Special Stage 10 and Chart van der Walt and Cindy Harding with a bird's eye view of problems for Jürgen Fecken and Dave Lukowitz. It was the end of the road for the Danair Toyota Corolla crew, with Lukowitz doing himself a slight injury while trying to get the Corolla to fire up. There was also Stage 10 problems for rally leaders Damso Sr. and Guy Hodgson. They lost 17 seconds to Habek and Judd, and at the Grabouw service park, technicians had to replace the sump guard on the Toyota.
Yeah, fortunately, this last stage, a sump rock caught us, and our sump guard is quite low, so that just destroyed the sump guard, and it was making so much racket, and I just tapped off. I didn't know what was broken on the car, so we lost quite a bit of time there.
While technicians checked the Conquest for any further damage, Hannes Hrobler recounted the misfortune that caught up with him and Nick Hadden.
Halfway through the stage, our rear brakes packed up. I'm not sure why, because they're busy looking, and when we hit the brakes at speed, just the front brakes locked, and we just went off the road. But unlucky for us, we went onto the rocks, and we couldn't get the car off. We had to jack it on both sides, put poles underneath the wheels, and that's how we got the car out. We lost about 10 minutes, and I think we got another penalty of about 5 minutes on the open section that cost us 50 seconds as well, or a minute. So we've lost quite a bit of time, but we're going on, and maybe we can make some of the time up tomorrow, and it's still a long rally.
And once again, damaged tyres and rims told a sad story for Team Total crew Dean Saunders and Graham Hooper. No fewer than 7 for the day.
I don't know what's going on. We're getting into the beginning of the stage and we just get a puncture every single stage.
The final act on day 2 of the Rally of South Africa was another super special stage at Ratanga Junction, and unpleasant windy conditions could not keep the crowds away. The matchup between the Damso Hodgson and Habak Judd combinations is always going to be interesting, with Habak a little over-enthusiastic early on in the run. That cost the VW Motorsport pair some time and handed the early advantage to Damso and Hodgson. The first time the crews tackled the Ratanga Junction Super Special was at night, but even in broad daylight with perfect visibility, these sort of special stages can provide problems for drivers and co-drivers. Even the top crews can get caught out, and race cam action caught Douglas Judd getting a little excited.
Tight, 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 tight! No, there, man. Sweet left. And hairpin right. Tight hairpin right. Double back hairpin right.
A disappointing stage for Habak and Judd saw them drop 5 seconds to Damso and Hodgson, who went into an overall lead of 25 seconds after day 2. Next up were Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley, and Paulo Piazzamuso and Richard Leake in a Toyota versus Ford clash. Piazzamuso is regarded as something of a super special stage specialist, but a smooth run saw Lawrence and Paisley pick up another 2 seconds on the Sasol Ford team. Plenty of action and superb car control from Piazzamuso, but often on stages of this nature, throwing the car around too much costs precious split seconds. Lawrence and Paisley were clear winners, but when Class A7 frontrunners Chart van der Walt and Cindy Harding and Barry Grobler and Mike Burrows took centre stage, the pace was not quite as frenetic as that of the Class A8 cars. Some crews dislike super special stages and prefer to drop a second or 2 in time rather than risk a major disaster. Grobler and Burrows were only a second slower than Van der Walt and Harding and would have been happy with that. After their stage 9 disaster, Hannes Grobler and Nick Hadden had huge ground to make up, but they weren't going to make any inroads on a short stage like this one and wouldn't have been worried about dropping a second to Kobus Roos and Neil Faree. The Rally faithful were expecting fireworks from Enzo Kuhn in the Fuchs Top Car BMW, and he did not disappoint. It was sideways action all the way from Kuhn, but slight errors here and there turned a matchup with Group N pair Cliff Blackman and Johan Klaassen into a tight affair. Over the latter part of the course, Kuhn was forced to pull out all the stops, but it was Blackman and Klaassen who were a second quicker in the Team Total Nissan Sentra. It was Namibia versus Zimbabwe when Theo Kutsia and Nico Sneeman in the Hyundai station wagon took on Jamie White and Philip Archinall in the Castrol Nissan Sentra. The Zimbabweans lost the plot midway through the stage, with Namibia coming through to take a comfortable win. A spectacular end to day 2 on the Rally of South Africa, with Serge Damso and Guy Hodgson holding a 25-second overnight lead on championship leaders Jan Habak and Doug Judd. Van der Walt Harding led Class A7, Damso Jr. and Aries led Class A6, with Blackman Klaassen out in front in Class N3. Local crew Morer and De Waal led the Group N category and Class N2, with the Houghton brothers, Michael and Robin, leading Class N1 by just 2 seconds from Fasaki and Chima. Day 3.